I'm just grabbing paint.
All right. Well, we are live with season 8, episode 17. And it looks like we already have Walkabout Games Chris in the house. Sorry, we came in a little bit late before the show there, Chris. I see that you wrote a little bit ago. But yeah, I hope everybody's doing well. This is our first summer show where we kind of go from bi-weekly to once a month during the summer. And yeah, it'll be like, it's nice to, it's kind of funny because like even just missing one of every 2 weeks, it feels like it's been a while. I don't know, like even just being a month off, it feels like it's been a while.
It feels like
since
it's
we've
been
done
months.
this.
I know.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Anyways, I don't know, going in our traditional method here, Tim, would you like to talk about any updates that you'd like to talk about with you?
I just posted a video about my my Norman project, which is going to be quite extensive.
All right.
Yeah, I got. Sorry, I'm running late, so I will just grab a few.
No worries.
As an example of what I'm doing.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But these are gripping beast Normans. And one of the things I like about them, I mentioned it in my video, is these things, the casualty dudes.
Sorry, I'm rusty here. I'm just kind of, there we go.
Yeah. They're like,
nice.
And so I was just thinking, like the Hail Caesar stuff, you know, you have that shaken that you can't recover from. That'd be pretty cool, like to put that by the unit and stuff so you can show that the unit is shaken.
Yeah.
I wish more, because that comes right in the set, and I wish more places did that. Mm-hmm. And then what I'm also doing is all the guys that are going to be like allied troops to the Normans, they're going to come with the round shields.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you differentiate. Historically, it was probably a mishmash stuff, but on the tabletop, sometimes it's best to be able to visually tell fairly quickly.
Sure.
Right.
Then, like the regular Norman infantry will be like this.
Your teardrop
with the kite shield.
Oh yeah.
What size bases are those? 40 by 40?
Yeah, they're 40 mil. 40 by 40.
Yeah.
I've gone back to my multi-basing.
Yeah.
And then the heavy infantry, the dismounted knights, will be like the armored guys. And
somebody's grooving to some tunes.
Oh, sounded like it.
Me.
Wasn't me.
Okay. And then we got guys with the axes and stuff.
Nice.
Cool.
That's kind of what I've been. Like I said, I was just this summer. I've decided not to, because I've got a lot of real adult things going on.
Yeah.
So I'm just decided. Look, just take the pressure off. Don't get in a big hurry to be producing. You know, just to crank shit out for the channel and stuff like that. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to take my time, go through this project this summer, just a little bit at a time, and kind of enjoy it. And I really have. And I'm going to move my camera and I'll show you the last thing I bought. And I just ordered another one.
Looks like we got Neil joined us in the house too.
I'm going to move my camera.
Hey, Neil.
And can you see the paint rack that would guess to be on the right?
Yeah.
You know, that's the one from Vallejo.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
And got 72 different slots in it. And
nice.
So that's kind of what I wished I'd have always had, because it's so much easier to see the paints. You know.
Oh yeah.
All you gotta do is look up and go, oh, there it is. Well, the other one I've got, it's the more of the flat kind that you got to have down on your desk.
You can't see them.
I don't have stuff down on my desk taking up space where I work. Well, where I hobby stuff.
Work.
Work.
It's not work. But, you know what I mean? But I ordered another one. I really like that. And I tend to use a lot more of the Vallejo. I'm kind of weeding out the GW and the P3. I guess P3 got bought up or went out of business or something. So they're trying to find that stuff, and because you used to be able to go to their website and order stuff, you can't do it anymore. So I kind of disappointed in that because I love their pots. I mean, these things were so great. I mean,
I'm using a Coach of Arms. It's the same company that makes the P3, but the same pot, but not the same paint. Like it's not the same tones. But
I tell you what, just being able to stick your brush in there and go right to the model.
Yeah, that's not what I'm doing right now.
The metallics you can thin down quite a bit if you want, because I've done that, especially like when it gets low and a little old. I'll put regular airbrush thinner in it and shake it up, and it works just fine and smooths out. But
Vallejo's my number one, though. Actually, I kind of agree with. Like, I actually like Vallejo. They're my number one. I know that you're not a fan of the dropper bottles because we had a show on this.
Yeah,
where we talked about it. Yeah, but I actually really like Vallejo paint.
The paint inside of them is great. It is.
I'm
not a fan of paint. The dropper bottles.
Yeah.
But,
what about gaming? Have you been doing any gaming lately? Or I know you said you've been doing a lot of
last couple of weekends. I've had some golf tournaments and stuff I've been in.
Oh, okay.
I've been trying to be more outdoorsy.
Yeah, summertime.
Summer, but we've been doing a lot of ACW at the little bitty guys. He's got all my brother's got a lot of ACW stuff, so we've been kind of doing some of that, getting away from the Star Wars stuff a little bit. Yeah,
that's cool.
And it's kind of fun. I kind of like it. You can see after a couple of games of that, I find myself we had this topic, asymmetrical wargaming, like 2-3 months ago, and it's just been on my brain here lately as far as gaming goes, how to put that together and do it. And I can see where the way those rules are in that scale, you could do that quite easily. A little more asymmetrical because how difficult it is to assault and stuff like that, defended positions. Yeah,
what rule set are you using?
Pike and
Black powder. Pike and powder.
Black powder.
Because you're playing the epic, right? You're playing the epic.
Yeah. It's a little bit. There's a few nuances to it that are different, but it's similar enough. And that whole range of rule sections, it's easy to move from one to the other. You just normally have to tweak a few things, and then the best thing about those rule systems are that if you want to kind of tweak it a little bit more, there's nothing to stop you from tweaking it a little bit more and not breaking the bank while you're doing it. It's just, I really like it.
Yeah.
I like it for that reason, that if I want to change something, or if I want to really make it really asymmetrical, where you can do that, and it doesn't really change the game that much. I mean, obviously it makes it tougher, but why do anything easy? But other than that, like I said, I'm just going to be taking my time this summer and not getting in a big hurry. And I've really enjoyed doing this way. I can't wait to get into the rest of this army list, because I'm doing the more of the Italian Normans, after the Normans have went into southern Italy and taken over some Campania, more of the southern part of Italy. And then they invaded the Byzantine Empire, and they had the mix of troops and especially the Normans in Sicily. They had a lot of Arab allies and stuff, so I can have some Arab troops along with my Normans. It'll be a very eclectic looking force. And historically, their cavalry was not very numerous, but it was awfully good compared to what they were facing. and it was just, yeah, they were something. So you could see where with Hail Caesar with their small units of these knights and stuff that you could crank them up, even though they're a small unit. They could be elites, and you could give them and really kind of tweak it to where it was more historical, because they were quintessentially fighting outnumbered all the time by a lot and
So,
winning and yeah.
So we've got 3 more people that have joined. We've got Warmot, Mini Warmot, Clyde, and
Oh,
Clark
cool.
joined. Got a pretty full house of 9 people watching right now. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Is that kind of most of your update there, Tim, before we go on to Dan, or did you have other stuff that you
No, I'm done.
going on? Cool. So
I
what
will.
about you'll
Yeah.
give the floor? You'll give the floor to
I
Farmer Dan.
yield to the man from Iowa. Well, from Western
One
Iowa.
of them. Yeah.
The man from Western Iowa
Western
has
Iowa.
four.
How about you, Dan? What's going on?
Well, I'm kind of doing this. My time changes in the summer as far as what I do, both work-wise and hobby-wise.
Mm-hmm.
The last 2 years, I've gotten back into I think I've talked about that in my antique tractor projects. And so between the summer farm activities, my hobby time, then I've been pretty well going pretty hard on that
Mm-hmm.
passion that I also have. So I actually have not painted any. I haven't sat in this room since our last show, which for the years before that, I was painting clear through the summer, just like I did through the winter. But the tractor thing was something I kind of started 25 years ago, and the stuff's been just kind of sitting in the sheds and barns, and whatever reason I've gotten the bug again. And so since I don't have a heated space to work on it, the summer's when I gotta make hay when the sun shines and get that stuff done. So that's been a lot of fun. And as far as any gaming, can't say that I have. I can't remember. I've played 2 games of Bolt Action this calendar year with Mark, and I don't know.
I remember you talking about at least one of them. You were talking about at least one. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that's been since our last show or not, but so that's kind of been.
The rules were actually. I think it was just the first one, maybe, because the rule where you was still out a little bit as far as, or I should say, the verdict.
Yeah.
Was a little out on Bolt Action version 3 last time you were talking about it from your first game.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. That's the last we talked, and because we had 2 games fairly close together, and I think they were each side of the last show, but played on the same table again. We adjusted our list, played again. That was the best game. I think is that the 3rd game we've played of 3rd edition, and that was by far the best game we'd had.
And did you kind of moving towards liking it, or are you kind of still not sure?
Yeah, I'm moving towards liking it. I still don't think I like the changes as well. It's definitely a different. They changed some of the fundamental stuff enough that it's not like completely a different game, but it's every turn you're doing. It's not like just like close assaults are handled differently. There's substantial things that are all of shooting is done differently. So you mix with that. So I think part of it was just getting kind of used to it. We weren't looking up so many of the rules to verify, and we weren't just kind of brain farting and doing it the old way by accident because just muscle memory. And so we played so many games 2nd edition, but and I think partly so it was part of that, and then I think partly since some of the fundamentals had changed, you need to play it slightly different. You can't. Some of the stuff that used to kind of work or was like the normal or strategies that basically that worked. It's enough of it's changed that different things work better, and but it was definitely the closest game we had, and most competitive came down to the end, and yeah. So I guess basically, if I did a review today, I'd say I don't like it overall as well as second edition, but it's not to the where I would say
You
I'm
wouldn't
going to
want to
quit
play
playing it because yeah, down the road we may do some house ruling, potentially, but I think in general, yeah, it's good. I guess I come away from it though. It was good to finally have a game that was really fun, and we're really having a good time. But I just feel like I've fallen slightly out of love with it.
Unless you're going to
So
go to that tournament that you normally go to, that
yep,
tournament, the Bug Eater that
yep,
you talk about. Unless
yep.
you're going to go to that, and unless you're going to kind of like plan on spending like time playing other people and stuff, there's really no reason why you guys can't just do second if you decided to.
Yeah, and we talked about that, and we actually may do that, to be honest, because other than I played games with Rusty, the Bug Eater tournament's really the only other games I've had in years. And the last 2 years they didn't have bolt action at the Bug Eater tournament.
Right.
So I haven't done that. So it's been basically Mark and then the couple games with Rusty.
Okay.
We may do that. Interestingly enough, which maybe this kind of proves, kind of calls me out, because basically what I've purchased so far for second edition is the rule book. I've not purchased any of the army books yet.
Your third edition.
Which that, when I think about that, I'm like, why haven't I done that? Yeah,
because
for
you're not
third
excited.
edition. Yeah, because I'm not excited. I'm not fully committed.
Yeah.
I think that's the main reason.
The
I
wallet.
think, yeah, and not that they're $80 a piece, but
Well, the wallet determines your motivation. Sometimes it shows it.
yeah,
That's not determines. It shows it.
it shows it, and that's why it's funny, because then when I was thinking about that, when Mark and I were playing last time, he'd pre-ordered the German and the American is out, and then is it the British is out in July or something?
Come out soon.
Yeah, and he pre-ordered the first two, and I flipped through one of them, the German one, I think, and it's interesting. I'm just not tempted enough to order them, which is weird. I think potentially if the Soviet one came out, because that's the most recent army I painted, and that's the table I built, and I would obviously, to play third edition properly, I'm going to have to add a few things that I didn't need to add in second edition. So I think in a way I'm waiting a little bit for that to come out. I probably will buy that and then properly build the third edition, because I don't really even have the right vehicle mix to field vehicles, because you need a command vehicle.
Right.
And that in second edition you didn't have to have that kind of a mix. So I have a couple heavy tanks, but not. I need a heavy tank and then like an armored car or something to be my command vehicle. So, so I probably will buy that. But I think it's funny when I sat back and thought, like, why haven't I bought any of them? Because and I think I'm on the fence yet. I'm gonna be fair. Yeah. It's like, am I going to start spending more money on this? Because there's all the main 5 armies or so are in the basic rule book. So you can get by. It's not like you can't play the game without the army.
No, I'm the same way. I haven't picked up any of the army books yet.
Yeah.
I have the rule book. When that first came out, it's like, oh, I got to get this. But
yep. Well, and then if you have the rule book, depending on how deep you get in it, you can play a bunch of games of bolt action third edition with nothing but the rule book.
Yeah, because they got the basic armies.
They got the basic armies in there, and so. But yeah,
we
so
got
that's basically.
Tankmaster Rob has joined us in the house.
Oh, hey Rob, good to see you.
There.
Yeah, more money for the Tonians. He's right.
I had a discussion with one of my gaming friends, because I didn't pick up the rule book yet for third edition bolt action, but he had, and I don't know if they're making more than one kind of version. Like, I always remember for first and second edition, they were a hardcover book that was kind of sizable. It was like a sizable book, like it was not fine print or anything. But now when he got the books, both second and third, they were like this big, and like fine print, and it cost
Soft
$40.
cover?
Soft cover,
Hardcover?
yeah,
Yeah,
no, it was a soft cover,
Yep.
yeah, but it was really small, and
Yeah.
he's not playing it just because of how he doesn't like to read it. Like now that he's bought it, he didn't know. I guess I don't know. Like they still have a hardcover that's like the one I used to get. I don't know.
That's what I have for all editions.
Yeah, that's the only way I would do it because it's a quality book. Like the hardcover.
You're talking about
some people
the
like
rule book?
The
rule book is
softcover.
small?
Yeah.
Is that comes in the starter set?
Yeah.
No, he got it separately.
It also does, I think, come in the starter set, and I'm not sure. Does it have armies in it too, or is it just the rules? Because they've done that in the past, that little mini one, and some people like it, like when you take it to the game shop or to tournaments, so that you don't have to lug the big hardcover book around.
But man,
it is
to read
cool.
it, it's very
for us old farts. Yeah, I can't read that small of print, but I mean, I could see where it has some appeal. But I have all three editions with the larger hardcover book. Yeah.
Right.
Well, back in my day, when we had rule books, it had big writing in
it.
Back in my day, it was all hand typed on a typewriter and white
carried
out
by
and
carrier pigeon.
No pictures. I did notice, and this is a two minor gripes I do have with the hardcover rule book, just like sort of layout, fundamentally, whatever, aesthetically. But they do, I don't know if you've noticed it, Rusty, but it's supposed to look kind of like it's the paper's kind of crinkled.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's supposed to look kind of aged or something. And it freaking bugs me. It looks like my rule book is crinkled, and it bugs me. And then the other thing I don't like is the paper isn't that like thicker, glossy paper. It's kind of a thinner, I don't know what you'd call it. It doesn't feel like the same like quality that I like.
Yeah. Feels like a little.
But those are, minor gripes. Yeah, just the pages seem really thin and like more fragile. It doesn't have that thick kind of glossy, like when you flip through one of those books forever, it's like the spine's maybe starting to fall apart, but the pages are still intact. Where this feels like the pages will start to get kind of ratty, and
fall
5
apart,
or 8 years,
wear
whatever,
out the pages quickly.
Well,
they just don't feel as nice if you're flipping through it fast.
So that's kind of your update there, Dan?
Minor gripe. Yeah, that's me. That's me, and I'm painting where I left off, whenever that was. Horse holders, 15mm ACW. So.
I'm just waiting on when they're going to have a sale on the ACW stuff over at the website. Whenever that
on Old Glory 15s.
Yeah.
4th of July, he always does one for the Civil War and sometimes AWI.
Yeah, was it coincide with games? Yeah.
Well, that could be.
No.
So we'll see. I don't think I need to purchase anything more for a while on that. But if you guys, just on a quick side note, I don't want to sidetrack too far, but speaking of smaller scales, but Warlord Games has the Epic AWI, and which just quickly it's like, does that scale? It's not Napoleonics. They didn't line up in these huge long lines that wasn't common, so I don't know if it plays well for that kind of building these strips of guys that you're going to line up. I don't know if that, but the models do just what I've seen online. The models look really good, and they have tons of variety. Like literally, even like the Continentals, they have their different models than the British Grenadiers, and then they've got militia, and they've got riflemen, and I mean it is pretty cool. They've really upped their game on that, but it's just interesting because it's not really a mass battle war for the most part.
Yeah, I'd say it's mostly a skirmish style war.
Yeah, by most standards, other than like Brandywine and
Yeah.
a couple of them were more massive, but
That's what 3,000 to 5,000.
yeah, even that, yeah. But they're beautiful, and you see their ads. They've got them lined up and painted, and it's like that. Now that is pretty, though. It is pretty, and the models are nice, and the amount of variety, and they're very easily identifiable as to what they are, and they have natives and mounted, and I mean it is pretty cool. Anyway, I'll shut up. Going on to Rusty.
I'll say it. If I had been fully invested in 28 AWI, I would think about getting into it.
Yeah, me too. And it's fairly affordable. And you wouldn't need a bazillion boxes of it,
No, I think the starter set with some few extra boxes of other things would be more than enough.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I mean, it is. I think it's their best epic scale that they've done.
I'd say for what I spent on my Perry Queen's Rangers over there, that I could easily got the entire starter box of the.
Yeah, but Perry medals. All right, come on.
Yeah,
you gotta have. That's just who we kidding.
Yeah, it's like I spent a lot on the Perry Dragoons, and then on those Queen's Rangers. It's like they look nice.
Well, I know one of those came across and kicked my butt at your place that time. Remember, it took my cannon down and then just rolled up the flank. That was
it was epic. The Dragoons jumped the fence and then went right after you.
Yeah,
the guns up.
Took me. Yep.
You should have had grape shot, canister or something loaded.
You don't get enough shots in to start with. You're close so fast. I was like, what?
Yeah, that's the thing about cavalry on such a small table. They go fast.
Yeah. Well, and since that was our first time we'd use cavalry, and I didn't really know it was that was like, that's how it was.
Yeah, you look at it at the movement mod. I was like, oh, okay, I can be across the table and nothing flat.
I'm in your face right now. Yeah.
Like you got your one shot, you're reloading, and it's like roll the flank.
And that was it. And I didn't have any dudes in front. So yeah, we were in a bad way.
Well, that just shows the rebels weren't used to such warfare.
Yeah, really disciplined and should have been in the trees,
So, Rusty, are you up next?
Oh, I guess so. Hey, I could be up there next. I spent a little too much time up there in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Let's see. I did get a game of Lord of the Rings in, 2 weeks ago? I think it was. Might have been.
Sweet.
Nice.
What'd you play?
Yeah.
What army?
I played the Rohan against the undead.
Agmar or whatever, or Angut or something.
The Army of the Dead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, from under the mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting game. It was we had to get forces off the table, and when you're facing cavalry army versus foot army, I got across the table pretty quickly. So I won the game by massive amount of points. You got more points for getting heroes off the table, banners, etc. And it's like just bum rushed across the table. Sent one of my units in and locked up his army, got into a big brawl with them, and then the rest of my army just went around the flank and got off. And it was like 4-1 in point wise for the major victory.
So what are you thinking of the game system?
Not bad. Let me tell you, fighting against that undead army is hard. You got to make a leadership test everything you want to do against them.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And if you got a low leadership of any type of army, then you're like, oh, sorry, you can't charge.
Sorry, you can't go. Yeah.
You're not doing squat.
Fear check.
Fear check this, fear check that.
Hmm.
And there was one time I charged in with my cavalry into the army. And it's like one guy, only the hero that was leading the captain that was leading the unit. He's the only one that got to charge. Like, everybody's like, oh, no, we're not doing that. That's just...
Yeah. It's a little lonely out there by yourself.
Yeah, he survived. He killed the guy that he charged into. And then they got into me and took out some of my guys. And then I got pushed back. And then I was able to, next turn, it's like, oh, okay, made it, charge. And so it's like cavalry versus foot. There's a big benefit for that. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Painting wise, I've been for the last about a month now. I've been working on my Chaos Dwarf army for
Yes.
Yeah, I've been seeing pictures on Facebook.
the
Progress.
old one. And it's
I can't hear you, Rusty.
Super quiet all of a sudden.
really
Muffled.
There you go.
Yeah, now it's fine. It got muffled for a second.
okay.
There
So
you go.
I've been talking like
Good.
normal. What they call it? What type of army is that? The Chaos Dwarf army.
What do you mean?
In the old world,
Yeah,
they have their own book
yeah. It's
with hobgoblins and right.
I know, but it's not an official army.
Oh,
the
legacy. It's a legacy.
Legacy.
Army. Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
what
That's
I'm
what
looking
yeah.
for.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's kind of fun. It's like you got the
Make Rusty big.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
So can show.
I'm painting now too. So let me see here.
Yeah.
I'm taking my toys and going home.
There you
Which
go.
I'm home already. So.
Oh,
Here we got
sweet.
the Iron Demon.
Are these all 3D printed? I don't know the Chaos.
This
Dwarf
one is
stuff.
3D printed.
Okay.
This is a 3D printed model. It looks almost exactly like the Forge World one. But just imagine two Hellblaster volley guns charging at you across the table, blasting away at you.
I'm good. Thanks.
And
They
this,
can move and shoot at the same time.
oh yeah,
Ouch.
They don't have a. They don't have any. What is it classified as? It's artillery.
it's a War Machine artillery.
So it doesn't have the move or shoot special rule.
No,
Okay.
because it's a steam engine.
Oh, I see.
It's like a steam tank, which can
Sure.
shoot.
Sure.
So
Well, that makes sense.
yeah, so I'm thinking of a steam tank with two Hellblaster volley guns attached to it. And then we got the liquid hot magma. This is the Forge World model here.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So it's like shooting hot liquid magma at you.
I like it.
Then I finally just put them on the base. You got some bases here. I put them on. So they're now officially on bases.
Nice.
And then I got the, was it the Death Shrieker here? This is another Forge World model.
Are these old,
Cool.
like old Forge World models, or can you still get them?
You can't get these. These
Yeah,
are,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I got these when Forge World was still a thing.
God dang.
So
That's
I do have some. Now, if you watch my video that I put out on Tuesday, I have 60 infantry that are painted up now for Chaos Dwarves. And I do have some Forge World Chaos Dwarves.
So they're expensive troops, right? Like you don't need a ton of them, or not? Am I wrong?
They're, I think, 11 points a model.
Okay.
So you got 4 toughness, 4 strength. And then if you give them the fire glaives, which just a second, I'll grab some of them.
Well, I'm gonna.
On the back.
You got your fire glaives.
Yeah, I got the fire glaives here. All right, so fire glaive, you can see him here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're
He's
cool.
he's got a little axe that's attached to a like think of dwarf thunderers with the
Yeah.
but they have
Yeah.
axes attached to them, so they get a +1 to their strength in melee. So
Okay.
think of a strength 4, range 18, AP -1 rifle for shooting out to somebody, and then when they get into melee, then they got a strength 5 melee weapon.
Okay, that's pretty versatile.
Yeah, with the -1, and they're ensorcelled. So it's like, ouch.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if you you need magical weapons or not; they'll just chop your ass up.
Hey. No.
That's yeah, that's frightening.
Yeah. So, but I think they're 14 points apiece.
Okay.
So then this is the command stand.
That's double the price of like a Bretonian foot, dude.
Yeah, but they chop Burtonians up pretty hard.
Mine they don't.
Yeah. But yeah, it's let's see, pretty high toughness and strength. They'll do a number on you pretty quick.
Do you have any of the old original? Oh, that's right. You said they got like, sorry to bring that up, stolen or something, right?
Yeah, I had 20.
Forgot
I had
that.
20 blunderbuss guys, and 20 of the guys. I still have a couple of the ones with the axes still left. You know, they had the halberd,
Yeah.
so they had the great weapons. So that'd be strength 6, I think. Then,
Wow. Yeah.
and then I have these guys, which are the Kadai. There you go.
Ah, that's
Very
cool.
nice.
What are they?
The Kadai warriors.
Okay. I don't know what they are.
They're elemental warriors.
Okay.
So it's like he's compared the size of.
Yeah.
They are big. So they'll chop things up. And they're fire elementals that are like hellbound type things.
Okay.
So they do a number on you pretty quickly. So as you get into combat with them, you got to take flame tests against them, because I think they have a strength 3 or 4 flaming attack against just being in contact with them. Then they got their attacks too. So.
Oh Lord.
And this is the Quake, Dread Quake cannon.
Oh, that's massive.
Yeah.
It's like a train car, like one of those from World War II, where they mount the massive German guns on them. Those
Yeah. So basically,
or defense.
it's supposed to be like a train.
Yeah, well, see, I called it. That's what it looked like. I'm like,
Yeah, it's a train.
I
This
nailed it.
The Demon Ninja can tow this around the battlefield if you want to.
Oh my gosh.
Or else you can have it hellbound. So if it's
Okay.
which was demon possessed basically too. And this rotates around.
Nice. Oh, that's awesome.
That's crazy. Good grief.
So, and you got your little ogre on board that helps load it. So if you don't have the ogre, it fires every other turn. But with the ogre, you can fire every turn.
So is that an
destroyers?
expensive in points?
That's 150 points, I think.
Okay.
This here I think this is like 180, something like that.
Okay.
That can get pretty expensive. These guys are like
Save your money.
ogre, about 50 points, I think, 55.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be a small army. I know when you see the Chaos Dwarf armies, they're not very big.
And these are like 100, or I think 120, 115, 120, something like that. So just think of a weapon that shoots the tier shape template.
Mm-hmm.
Goes out 12 inches. You put down the template, and then you roll the artillery dice, and it goes another possibly up to 2 to 10 more inches farther.
Oh, good grief.
And if you have a one of the demon smiths with you, if you roll the misfire on the chart, then the demon smith, if you have one next door, then you can re-roll your die.
Oh, cool.
And if you roll a misfire, you don't roll on the misfire chart, you just lose a wound on your piece of artillery.
Oh, okay. I thought it'd be some crazy void thing or something.
Yeah. And what else? Oh, yeah. Then you've seen these guys before. This is what I'm going to be working on.
That's cool.
The bull renders.
Mm-hmm.
Bull renders.
Yeah, it's like you look at the size of these guys. It's like, here's a little guy. It's like,
oh yeah,
they're huge. They're like the size of Palmer's dragon ogres.
They might be bigger. They might be larger. Actually,
only because of scale creep.
Yeah, it's like this is. I guess these guys are.
Because dragon ogres came. The dragon ogres came out in like 1987 to 9, something like that. Rob might know. The original dragon ogres. He would.
Yeah, this is about the size of a dragon ogre here.
Yeah.
This is the boss size. Yeah, they're bigger. The bosses are.
Oh,
bigger.
I see. Yeah, so that is similar, probably.
Yeah, of course.
What is your Musty drink there tonight, Rusty? Or are you staining tonight?
Grants.
Oh, cool. I don't know. Have you brought that one on the show before?
About 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I don't know. Over
I
the
thought you were going to
last.
say 2, 3, or 4 years ago.
That's what I thought he was going to say too.
It's been out there a few times. It comes out about maybe once a season. Not very often.
Especially
it's triple wood Grant's blended Scotch whiskey.
Nice.
So it doesn't have an age statement. So it could be stuff from 3 to 12-year-old mixed in with it. Nothing spectacular.
Good deal. All right. Well, I'm going to just go quick so we can get to the comments. I'll just do a quick update, because then we can get to a topic that we're doing tonight. You guys have seen, I'm right now just, I've really taken a long time to work on these, but I left these on the table because I got into Adeptus Titanicus, but I'm just basing my, my Blackworks. So I have like 10 of these. I'm just getting the color on the base. I have to just do a wash. You can't really see well here, but maybe it's a little better. I have to do a wash on the bone, and I have to do some highlighting on the base. I'm just painting the Goblin Green tonight, but I did do, as I think I showed in the last show, like I've got Grimgore here.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have to paint the shield up and on the bottom, I think it's an Empire shield, it looks like. But I have this guy I've been working on. I'm working on my Reaver now that for Adeptus Titanicus.
Those are so cool.
I love them. I really love them. Yeah,
those are neat.
I'm really looking forward to the game too. I really think I'm going to enjoy it. And so I still have to work on the base. I actually have a Horus Heresy era speeder bike crashing here, and I'm going to have 2 Space Marines that are word bearers, and I'm going to have 3 Thanatar Mechanicum on the other side, sort of like there's a little skirmish happening.
Diorama.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that with every single one. I kind of thought I might do it like, every couple miniatures have like some little guys like doing some things, but just to simulate the kind of war that's happening. But I'm really enjoying that. I actually been doing, if you look right here, right there, I have all these little lumps that are like pink and black and stuff. They're all, I'll grab one. They're all 3D prints of Badland rocks that I'm doing for Adeptus Titanicus, because I'm doing like a Badland scene.
Oh, cool.
I don't know how well you'll be able to see this pink. I'm not sure if pink or black would show up. Oh, there we go. So they actually look pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I have like basically like 6 of these of different types, and like this is the Reaver. There's and so height wise, the way I had a choice in how I was going to print them. I printed some bigger than this, but this will be really good cover. I think.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's some stuff that's bigger. I'm going to print some stuff that's smaller, so I have a variety. And looking forward to that. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is mostly like the 3D printing, a little bit of Adeptus Titanicus, and I'm doing some Warhammer Fantasy. I want to get to doing some stone throwers for my goblins. One thing I'll just mention is for you guys, you may know that they just released like a really large errata FAQ for the world. And that's going to really affect the game. And I'm kind of looking forward to it, because it's going to go more towards infantry. And they've debuffed magic and dragons and stuff, and they've buffed infantry. And so it should be interesting. And the Black Orcs, I think, are going to like it that I'm painting right now. So that's kind of good. My goblins are not, that my poison arrow goblins are not going to, because they've kind of taken poison down a notch, but that's fine. You got to take the good with the bad with the changes, and so that's that. And I've been gaming. I've been playing a lot of DBA recently. Well, I've been playing some DBA, and as usual, with my buddy that I play DBA with. And then his name's Mark. He's actually on the Musty page. He sometimes comes in and makes an update once in a while. And then also I played a little bit I've been playing Old World every other week with it, like kind of a group. Thing is I've been on a losing streak, and a lot of people don't like to admit that, but I'll be fully transparent. I've been getting my butt kicked. And last night, I actually told Rob about it. I was chatting with Rob Jangmaster about it, because he had brought up this type of list in the past and asked me if I'd went against it. I never had, but it's a scream list. It's the Tomb Kings, and so there's like where you have like they scream at you and you do a leadership test, and whatever you fail by, you take wounds. It's like pretty damaging. Like in the meta, so to speak, it's a pretty dangerous list. I did something stupid. I'd never even went after these. I never seen these before, and I never researched it. And I just took my level 4 goblin on a Ragnarok spider, and I just went right at these 3 things that all scream, and it just wiped him out in turn 1. Just destroyed him. And so the rest of the game was just getting really badly. The only thing that did anything was my Doom Diver killed one of them. One of these Mortis engines is what they were.
Yeah.
3 of them. Yeah, 3 of them together, and they all buff each other. So it's 3 together coming out and all just raising each other's abilities. But basically,
Banshees?
No. Apparently, Banshees are even worse, is what I'm told. But these Mortis engines, when you actually bring them,
it's the Mortars. Okay, I know.
Yeah, they could do pretty good. Apparently, I'm new to it. I actually hadn't played against that before, and so I'll have to readjust. And I'm thinking a lot about. It's got me motivated. Sometimes I find when you're not doing I always enjoy the whole world, and so I'm enjoying all the games. But I find sometimes if I feel discouraged with gaming, sometimes I have myself lost interest a little bit in the game or not gotten as excited. But I actually find I'm motivated to paint more right now. I'm motivated to paint all these units that are more competitive that I own, but I don't have painted, in order to just kind of try mix it up a bit and just throw some more things in there. And so that's kind of a good thing, because
that's cool.
Yeah, because most of the time, if I really enjoy a game, it's not imperative that I win. You know what I'm saying? It's
same. Yeah.
You want to feel like you had a chance. That's the main thing. If you play a game, you don't feel like you had a chance, to me, that, and this is a whole nother topic. I don't, we could go down a rabbit hole with this, but that's kind of my position on it. So that's my gaming, my DBA game. I played 2 games that night, just chatting with a friend, and the first game I got like totally destroyed, like really quick, badly, and then the second game I won, both the same armies. It was kind of funny, the way that happened. But and so my drink for tonight is I've got a Vancouver Island Brewing Mystic Haze Pale Ale. I got this pack of like summer beers where you can get like a bunch of different kind of beers, and I actually never had this one before, but there are other ones I've really enjoyed. Maybe that's closer out to Chris's direction out there. He might be familiar with them as a brewery in his area. And so that's kind of it for me there. And so why don't we go to the comments before we go on to our topic? I think we have a fair number of people, so we have a lot in there probably. I'm just going to go to where we're starting to get outside of the hellos just to get caught up. Chris says, I've been doing 45 by 45 lately. I find that 40 millimeter and 50 millimeter too small or too big.
Yeah.
What are we talking about there? I'm trying to remember what the
base
context.
sizes. Tim's base sizes.
Tim's base sizes during his discussion. Okay.
Yeah, just that's what we talked about.
Just like always, too small.
That's what she said.
Neil says that he finds 40 by 40 works for close order troops, and the Saxons I did was 6 figures on a 60 by 60. Chris says P3 is coming back apparently, but will be different. They're going to change the formula, I guess.
If they go to dropper bottles, I'm going to be pissed.
Duly noted.
Yeah, right.
I still got all the old bottles that I just squirted into the old bottle.
Warmut says, "For amigos, got some hellos. I'll probably be going to buy Epic Revolution box." That's probably what you were talking about, right? There, Dan, the Revolution, that must be the AWI.
Yeah, it is really pretty, and they've done a nice job with it. It's cool.
Nice.
We
got, let's see, Palmer's room is shrinking. And before I could actually answer that, no, it's just me getting bigger. Somebody already did. I think it was Clyde. He's just growing. I actually,
ouch.
I had to move my my camera a bit around, and of course, actually, it's funny. I actually cleaned up in here today, and so it shows like how bad it must have been. if it looks like I've got a lot of clutter or something, I'm not sure. Let's see. More money for Brits, says Rob.
Yeah, that's when I was talking about not buying bolt action rule books.
Chris says, I just bought all the bolt action and they pulled a GW on me.
Yeah, I know. Some they were pretty good about trying to warn people, but that's happens.
He says back in the day you could see things without glasses, and that's referring to the fine print of the rule book.
Yeah, facts.
Warmite says that's why I'm hesitant with the new Epic Revolution box. Wasn't the Revolutionary War more skirmish? I may be wrong.
Yeah, by Civil War and Napoleonic, it was like literally.
But compared to the French Revolution, French Indian War, it was bigger battles.
Yeah,
mostly, I think.
But it's just how they do they build those troops on strips, and then you're supposed to rank them up and stuff. So it's kind of like, does that style of miniatures, the way they they worked in Napoleonics and ACW, but maybe not as much. But depends how big of a stickler you want to be for like historical accuracy. Exactly. So that's cool looking.
I guess a lot of it just depends on the rules you're going to be using.
Yeah, you can play it 1-to-1 then. Scale.
Chris says M109 SPG are on pain to sculpt Gur.
Oh yeah. Paladin. You're talking about the Paladin?
Well, we'll see what he says. Probably he'll comment in there. Rob says those are cool, but the big hats are my jam.
Yeah.
On the Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be what he was referring to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought those were cool too. Sounds like Dan stole them. I'm not sure what Glenn's saying, just rubbing it in. What is he referring to there? Stole what? What were you? I'm trying to remember what was being talked about.
When Rusty, because I asked him if he had any of the old original ones, and then I remembered. I think he'd told the story that they had gotten stolen, which I suppose I could return them someday.
Yeah, Chris says, "Yup, Paladin" to Rusty.
Okay.
Destroyers is Rob's comment. That must be around some of your models.
There's the Kadai Fireborn, and then there's a Kadai Destroyer. The Destroyer is the big giant one. They don't have it in the new army list. Yeah, the Kadai Destroyer was a big, massive model.
Chris says that was the last forgeable kit I bought. That was probably referring to one of the models that you had there, Rusty.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Josh is in the house. Hey, Josh, thanks for joining in.
Oh yeah, so
just seeing your comment there. Hi guys, good to see you today. Yeah, awesome.
Hey,
to have
Josh.
you in the house as usual.
It's morning over there, probably.
Yeah.
Chris says I'm looking at 10 millimeter AWY 3D printed. Oh, cool.
Yeah, cool. The small scale, I'm kind of liking it.
All right, well that's that. I got most of the comments there. I might have missed one or two, but that were not hellos. But I just I was just trying to get through to get to everybody. And so we've got a topic tonight, and like it's not just like what is your favorite game, like because like you could go like really simple on this. Like you could say like what's your favorite miniature game, which is a valid topic. Like or what are your favorite games? But really like what this is if you ever kind of sat back and thought about your favorite games, what tend to be, and this is your opinion, like everybody's going to have different things that they like, even different types of games. It's going to influence their discussions. But like, what are the things that you see as commonalities or that you recognize are really like your favorite things in a game? And typically when I introduce a topic, when I'm kind of doing the host, like Rusty and I alter like hosting, I usually always go last. And I think if it's okay with you guys, I was thinking maybe what we could do is just mention a couple of the things that you like without elaborating first. Just say like, this kind of this and kind of like this are things that I like if you have them in mind. And I thought I might just start just mentioning just 4 things without even kind of describing them in detail or the things that I like. And these are, I did this. I actually only came up with these today before the show. Like I sat down and thought about it, and I thought, I hate being like tied to just 4 things or like these may not be the ultimate ones, but they're the ones that came to mind, or things that I like. And then maybe you guys could do the same. Maybe we could just kind of do around the screen. But in no order of importance, 4 things that I thought of were 1, randomness. In general, I like a component of randomness, and examples were random number of pips and DBA, so actions at each round, like just not knowing how many actions I'm going to get and just being random, having to deal with it. Explosions and Adeptus Titanicus, as I'm watching bat reps and I'm actually really reading the rules. The fact that when you destroy something, like you could be next to it and it could go like nuclear and destroy your own guy next to it, or even destroy his guys. Like it's so random, like what can happen in these things. And I just find that just adds an interesting and fun element to games. Resource management systems. This one, I think you guys will, probably know immediately what I'm talking about. But like fatigue tokens in Saga, or shock tokens in Shark Practice, and even like some of the technical aspects of Adeptus Titanicus with shields, damage levels, and power within the reactor that you manage. I find that adds an interesting component to your miniature, having like these things to think about. And then the next one is critical decision-making points. I wrote this. I like Tim might, because he plays Armada, might identify this, but like the command dials in Armada where you have to decide, and I guess Rusty played Armada too. You have to decide ahead of time, like a few steps ahead of time, what you might want to do. And having like critical points in the game where even you might even have to plan for that could be more, I guess, not every round is equal in your mind. Like, like you're actually looking at the game as a timeline, and that you actually have critical points in the game that are important, I think sometimes can be a really good aspect to a game. And then lastly, I actually was thinking about DBA, and I've mentioned this on the channel, but layering of different types of rule mechanics that add complexity. And so like in DBA, you have movement and formations that you have to follow regardless of the kind of unit type they are. And so like, you have your very like strict kind of blocks, and like you have a very defined way you need to move and match up. But then you have a totally separate set of rules on like the way different units interact with each other and how they get advantages and disadvantages to each other. And you could almost have them like on completely separate pages or completely different sections. They're almost in some ways unrelated, but they become very related when you lay them together after you do your movement. And then you have to know where to match up and use both sets of rules together to achieve an outcome. And so I've noticed that sometimes in games you have these like elaborate aspects that are separate, but then you layer them and it adds like a whole nother layer of complexity that I enjoyed. And so that's my 4. And I don't know, we could check, kind of just like maybe go around and do the same thing and then just chat about it afterwards and get people's comments as well. But like, Tim, do you have some things that you tend to see across the games that you like, that are commonalities that you like?
Yeah. It all comes down like the more, I don't know, decision making that you have to do in a game, the tactical decision making. I like games that push that envelope, but a lot of times we fall into a weird thing where you want to make the game sort of balanced. So each person, like you said, like you went on your losing streak, you want to start making those competitive sort of units. So is that ruining the tactical decision making that pushes you when you have the lesser quality troops? Now, I tend to like games where I'm always playing uphill. Whenever I have a game where I feel like I'm playing downhill, where everything's easy, I'm making every dice roll, my opponent couldn't get out of his own way if he had to, I do not enjoy those. It almost feels like a waste of time. I would rather be challenged. I'd rather be the one getting whipped and then having to try to figure out on the fly what's going on. Sure. And so things that I like about games are the things that put in problem solving mechanisms for you. I don't care whether it's magic.
So what's in a specific, like what would be like a specific thing?
Oh, well, having characters in your armies that can buff a unit. Okay. Those sort of things, like, okay, I've got this one kind of unit and it's kind of just mediocre. So like you said, with layering, all of a sudden, okay, I give them this character, then I give them this banner, and then all of a sudden they become a little bit different.
Sure.
And they're going to play different now.
Yeah.
I do like that facet of gaming, but I don't want that sort of thing to overtake the actual tactical movement on the table. I like games, and why I'm starting to like this smaller scale stuff for the table size that I have is that movement can become almost grander in scale than with like two large 28 millimeter armies on a 4x6 or even a 4x8 table with enough terrain on it. It's just a straightforward slugfest.
Sure.
Yeah, you might as well just put them together and just roll dice. I like games where there's movement and decision making. That's why I like off-table units that come on. I love that aspect where you can say, okay, I'm going to keep this division off the table, and then we're going to see if it can come on, and where does it come on, when does it come on, does it come on all at once, does it come in piecemeal?
Yeah.
Those sort of mechanics in a game I like, because then that ratchets up that decision making. What I'm not a fan of is games where the escalation gets out of hand, where there are always going to be those, oh God, I hate this word, meta lists. I hate the word meta. If I never have heard the word meta, I would have just been happy. But when they come up, and there's very smart people playing this game, far smarter than myself, and all games like Old World and all that kind of stuff, where they can look at it and they go, okay, if I take this unit, we're going to layer this and then put this character, and then I'm going to have these spells, and they're skewing the numbers is what you're doing. And games that do that too much, it almost like it feels to me like I'm no longer playing a war game. I'm playing, I don't know, it doesn't feel, I feel like I'm more concerned with that sort of thing than what goes on the table.
Are there any other specific things that you have a tendency to like?
One thing that in mass battle games that I've always enjoyed, and there's only been one rule set that I've played that actually does it, and that's the concept of units just being pushed back. Now, in Hail Caesar, if you defeat somebody, you have the option of staying in contact or letting them go, and doing that sort of thing. And there's another rule set that if you win, they automatically get pushed back a certain number of inches. And I like the idea of that changing of the battle lines,
as opposed to just being wiped out.
Yeah, opposed to being just wiped out, or they run all the way off the table and you have to chase them, or they just back up and start, and it gives it that a little bit more of a historical feel, where it wasn't like, a lot of times things broke all at once, yes, but a lot of times it was this gradual pushing until something snapped. And I like that idea of looking at that on the table, where I could have a unit that's doing really well, but yet if it creates its own little salient, then all of a sudden it's created its own little problem.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like Old World. One of the things I like better about Old World than earlier editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle is they implemented that for this edition. They basically, you can do two things. They not only can you flee and when you lose, but also you can fall back in good order, which is like a fall back, like where you're ready, and like you don't just automatically lose, you're ready for the next turn. And then there's even a give ground, which is even better, like you just move back only 2 inches. And so it's actually good. I actually really like that.
Yeah, that I love that sort of, because it breaks up that static sort of, like
all or nothing,
and
also the all or nothing
motion on both sides, and I really like that sort of thing. I'm not a fan of cards. I'm more of a dice guy, but that's the old curmudgeon in me saying I don't like cards. Yeah, I like tactical games like that. Because if I just have so much on the table that there's no movement, when my Hail Caesar, I've started using a lot more smaller units of 28 millimeter models, just for that flavor of it.
Yeah,
on both army side, if it's applicable.
Cool. Well, why don't we go? We'll go. Dan will get his few things, Rusty's few things, and then we'll kind of talk about all of them because I know this is one of those ones that when you say like, what is your favorite thing? Like then like you could just talk about like everything under the sun.
Oh yeah,
Everybody can actually.
you must
Like,
make
I went longer than I thought I would on this when I was trying to explain it. But Dan, like, what are a few things that you tend to look for?
Yeah, just and like you said, I'll just kind of lightly touch on them, and then we can go into it more later if we want. And for me, I think one of the things is I like some randomness also. And that can be through unit activation or random events or roll on a table to see what happens when you get in a situation. So I like that because I think that increases somewhat of your deepens your decision making process, knowing not necessarily who can activate next, and then so you're you're really agonizing over what to do. I like that, my part of that, and then I like games that have points match possibilities, even in historical. I mean, we can fight even if it's ACW. This could just be some random area off the side of Gettysburg. I mean, do we have to like count out the units and make sure it's the 3rd Texans and can we just line up points and make up our own story, which brings on to my next one. I like games that tell a story even more so.
Narrative.
A narrative, yeah. And that can be incorporated lots of different ways, but I think that's important to me. I also like games that have a heroic aspect. And by that, I mean, it doesn't necessarily... It can definitely stray from historical accuracy for me, whether it's World War II or medieval or ACW, any of that. We've talked about that before too, or, can you simulate a battle in the tabletop and what does that mean? I like it to be, it can be a little Hollywoody for me. I'm fine with that. And I don't mean having this guy that, can run around and just wipe out units. That isn't what I mean by heroic, but it can be a little bit of like, man, that was so cool. Could you believe he did that? Like it probably couldn't happen, but not, you don't have to suspend all belief.
Right.
And then the last thing I had was I like games, regardless of if it's a skirmish game or a large, if you can have a lot of unit types, even if they've got, so then when you're like list building or how you use your different units, they have like certain strengths and weaknesses. They have, you've got skirmishers, you've got the long range, you've got your heavy hitters, you've got cavalry, you've got, I like that because it makes it more interesting to me. Not like I said, appearance wise, even on the tabletop, but also just when you're trying to determine where to place your different units, how to use them, and how to work them together.
Right.
So that's kind of my list.
Cool. Okay. So what about you, Rusty?
I like some, if my army has a flavor that the other armies don't have, uniqueness, that I don't like cookie cutter armies. Everybody's going to be doing this, looks identical across the board, that type of thing. I like uniqueness that gives you flavor that you can identify with that army. That could be, you look at the old world, it's like if I'm playing like the Chaos Dwarf, that stuff that they can do, nobody else has that ability or any of those weapons or anything like that. I want it to be totally original across the board. I like different kinds of like command structure abilities where nothing can be set in stone, where an individual, it's like you may have to roll something to see if a unit will do something that isn't necessarily like the God Eye type of movement in the game. I don't have a problem with this, like, I got to roll to see if this unit will go this far or this far, that type of thing. Give them a little bit of uniqueness that way. And it could be set according to whatever type of commander you have. Not all your commanders on the table for different units could be all this, not all the same. They could be, this is a strong commander, this could be a weak commander, and that commander gives you the ability to do more things. You may have a very heroic commander. It may cost you some points, but you put it in a unit, it gives like, oh, you can do this and this and this. So that unit can do more heroic type of actions, something like that, which you don't see very much in games. Everything's kind of a cookie cutter. All commanders are the same. They kind of look at it in the terms of leadership. It's like he's leadership 9, or he's leadership 8, or he's leadership 7 type of thing. But,
well, you would say that like Warhammer Fantasy Battles, like you get different rules with different commanders, right? Like with different. So that would be a game that would have what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
In that sense.
In that sense, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but you got to pay for that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Better means more points.
Yeah. So you want to pay for having a commander that has a little bit more extra oomph to him that allows you to do unique things on the battlefield. And hey, it's like you're paying for it, but you get the benefit of paying those things. That's kind of a couple things I like. Another thing is different kinds of maneuver aspects for different kinds of units. That they may have a different template for It's like I play a lot of ship games where a smaller ship can be like, he's dark, he's really zippy, and then you got the big warships that are like lumbering behemoths. Is like, you got to write your rules. He's going to be doing it. It's like Armada's that way, where I want to turn my warship over that direction. You got to say, on these 2 turns, this 3 turns, it's going to go do.
Depends on how fast you're going and like lots of different factors. Yeah.
It brings in some. I feel a little bit of realism that you're not going to be turning the giant aircraft carrier battleship on a dime. It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things.
Cool. That's cool. What about everybody in the comments? I probably should have asked ahead of time to give people a chance to think and write in. But I'm curious if there are aspects of games that, because we have a lot of veteran war gamers that are in our comments typically. What do you guys typically like in the games that you guys like to play? And while they're thinking about that, I'm just going to read a couple that have happened since we're talking about it. Warmat says, okay, just finished a depressing zombicide turn. It looks like we will be zombie food. Well, I've been there. I played lots of zombicide and with my family, and we have lost many times. And so it's a family favorite. So
became zombie food.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if you guys heard just that, speaking of zombicide, did you guys hear that that Cool Mini are not sold that to Asmodee?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they actually sold that property. They might have sold more, but that was the big one. They sold that property, the whole zombicide brand, to Asmodee. But
what do you think of that?
Well, I mean, the only thing is, as somebody that actually, I also got their Cthulhu game, which I don't think is one of the ones they sold off yet, but it's their one that's based in their Eldritch kind of game.
Yep.
And I've not yet to really play it much yet with the family, but I guess they wrote a letter within 3 weeks prior to this happening, and it was in response to sort of the political situation. And they were saying that basically, because they just depend, with what they depend on and things, they're not going to be able to, it's a risk here because they're heavily into the Kickstarter model. And so when this happened during that, I'm assuming that what happened is they just got caught, in a bad situation. And I watched some videos on this, and, there are some folks, that would talk both negatively about Cool Mini and not, and folks that would talk negatively about Asmodee. I actually think that the fact that Asmodee could help them out and take this off their hands and take this property and just is a good thing in the sense of for Cool Mini or not, the company. Whether it's a good thing for me as a consumer is questionable. Because I do think whenever you take something out of the original creator's hand, it's dicey.
It's changing.
It can suffer.
Yeah, but I think that like companies acquire properties in all areas of industry. To make themselves better, they take on like a product from a little company and like incorporate it into their own and like from that perspective, I can't fault Asmodee. I'm not really. Yeah, I mean, like they've had a really good run with Zombicide. I'm not really gonna get way into whether Cool Mini or not did the right thing or should have did something else different or whatever. I'm not overly.
Not gonna judge. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not overly concerned in that sense. I know Wormut's big into Zombicide, so maybe he has some comments on it because I know that he plays probably multiple versions of it from what I can tell. And so. Chris says, I enjoy the Saturday Zombie Apocalypse games. So I don't know, do you playing specifically Zombicide, Chris, or do you actually have other ones that you like too? Let's see. Oh, actually, he said he's got his first edition stuff for Zombicide. Yeah, because I know they went to a second edition too. So Josh says, I enjoyed hearing your thoughts, guys. I really enjoy narrative games with randomness thrown in. They tend to be the games that I enjoy the most these days. Yeah, that's both two really good components that were discussed. Yeah. I know some games can be more narrative than others, for sure. And in some ways, I think of skirmish games a lot where you do a lot of character building that sometimes can get really narrative, like because the more you personalize a miniature, and get attached to a single miniature, the more like it kind of adds to a character and story. But I would also say that like to some degree, I think we'd probably assign narrative to all the games that we play. Like, like even if it's like 20 faceless guys, you know what I mean? It's still 20 guys you're identifying with that dealt with a situation and like a narrative happened, right? Like they defended a hill and all of a sudden like you're just referring to that regiment and it takes on personality in some ways, as the game goes on. I was talking to the guy that I just met somebody new when I was playing my last Old World game. And we were chatting after the game, and I was talking about Adeptus Titanicus just because it's on my mind, and he was talking about his other games. And that's what he had said because he'd never played it before, but when I talked about how in Adeptus Titanicus, you have like, it's basically a skirmish game, even though it's at an epic scale, which is it's a weird contradiction. This idea that you would view something at epic scale as skirmish, but it's because you're dealing with Titans, and it would be closer to BattleTech in some ways, I think, in that concept in some ways, although I know BattleTech has some complexities with vehicles and like other things too. But with this, because you're managing so many streams on a command card for each miniature, like you're dealing with reactors, like damage charts or damage stream tracks, and dealing with shields, similar to Armada like that. Like you're dealing with like different shields and all that kind of stuff. It makes you get really sort of personalized to each Titan. Like each Titan has its own kind of situation, and it's already painted differently. They already have their different loadouts and everything. Like there's already enough story behind each one, but now they're all individual in the way they've actually tested in the battle.
Right. And have you ever played the game yet?
Well, no, because I actually.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not trying to. I was just curious if.
No, I haven't. I'm painting it, but I've watched a lot of battle reports and I've been reading. I've read the rules, and so my familiarity is sort of like being at the table side during all these battle reports.
Yeah,
watching.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm really keen to play it. That's why I'm kind of spending so much time painting now for it. But I think that's that narrative development, right, where you feel. And actually, it was funny when I was looking at battle reports. I actually watched one of yours, Josh, for the original game. Josh actually has I don't know if you remember, but he put up and Adeptus Titanicus from the original version.
Yep.
Had a guest on the show, and I saw that recently. And yeah, like it's a fun game. Anyways, so Josh talked about narrative and randomness as things that he likes. Chris says, I watch Mud every Saturday. I don't know how to take that, but I guess what you're talking about is the Zombicide games. Is that what we're talking about? Guys, you guys probably don't live close to each other, I don't think. BattleTech drink, I just did. Thank you, Glenn.
Yeah, it was,
I haven't done a BattleTech swig in a while.
it was coming.
And Chris says, I was given access to the new CAF training wargaming rules and the 3D assets they have, made files for the rules. It's been very interesting using a real grid map. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. So is this a CAF training, CAF wargaming rules? So is this a I'm guessing this is a wargaming system where they also sell 3D files, like, like similar to maybe, what is it, one-page rules or something like that? Oh, he says Canadian Armed Forces.
Yeah, I was going to say Canadian Air Force or Canadian Armed Forces.
Okay, yeah. Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool.
And a real grid map. So they have like standardized maps on grids, or is that how that works?
Or do you mean a real map that they put on a grid?
Oh, I see.
Like an actual map of the world or whatever.
That's pretty cool. I didn't even realize that was a thing. Like, I knew that in the military, these war games, like, but I didn't realize that there was like a product like that the public could access.
Well, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Now you know the rest of the story.
Now you know the rest of the story.
Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't choose a second topic tonight, and we are a half hour before the typical ending time. There aren't any comments on the table, and we've kind of hush has descended upon the discussion a little bit. So, what would people like to chat about?
Well, we could always say, how could we put all those things that we want, we talked about, put them into a system?
Mm-hmm.
Or what systems kind of do a bunch of what that is, or
the ones that you like.
Yeah.
We could. Another thing I thought about bringing up is, instead of you move all your units, you alternate units.
Mm-hmm.
You take that randomness like you have in bolt action, but you use a movement and then they use a movement.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that aspect. But that's just, again, quickly, one of the things about the third edition, at least in my few games I've played, it just looks like you're going to have, it's easier to have a wide difference in order dice, more so than in second edition.
Yeah.
Because, see, by the same token, when you do that for random activation, if I put 18 dice in the dice bag and the other guy has 12, I'm more likely to almost always have the initiative. And then you could say, well, but you did that on your list building, so you knew that, both sides knew that was a possibility. And that's fair, but also it can make it so it's, at the end of the day, it's a game and it's supposed to be fun, right? I mean, if you want to get into the real like probabilities and things, and want to win a tournament, then those are things to agonize over, but I'd prefer not to. But I do like I definitely like bolt actions, random activation in second edition. To me was like perfect. Some of the card draw systems are good, like muskets and tomahawks. I haven't played the new edition, or it's not that new anymore, second edition, but that was pretty cool because it was activating troop types, not units, right, Palmer?
Right.
It's like your British regulars would go.
Yeah, if you had more than one type, and you drew that card, almost half your army or more could go.
And that was interesting to me because I think Mark and I only played maybe 4 or 5 max games of that. Mm-hmm. but it was interesting because it got me thinking where I needed more troop types because, like you said, to be able to act, you wouldn't always have the initiative or the go action when you wanted it if you basically all you had was regulars and maybe natives or whatever they call them in the game. I forget.
Yeah.
But whereas opposed, if you can have all the different kinds of units, then those it just seemed like then you could react better. So in that case, I thought it didn't work as well or as much fun when you only had one or well, maybe like 2 troop types.
Right.
But the randomness was awesome. But I did love what was the card called? It wasn't Tiffin, was it?
It was.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. That's funny. It popped in my head.
Isn't that?
That's chain of command.
Practice. Or is it sharp? Yeah, and chain of command. Sharp practice, chain of command.
Okay.
Yeah. Sharp practice, that's Tiffin too. Where it ends.
Yeah. Well, is that where it ends? And then what was
ends,
the card? What was the one that would give you the random event? Or was that just an event card? Or what?
Well, there's in a Musket Tomahawks, there's an event cards.
Yeah, and I loved that. That would come up, and it was never game changing, but it added some character, some flavor, and then like all of a sudden, it's like being on those game shows where all of a sudden they throw in, okay, but now you have to do it left-handed, or something, and it's like,
yeah,
all of a sudden the house is on, the one cabin's on fire, or I can't remember what some of them were, but they're not major things, but it was like it made you had to react to something that neither one of you were expecting.
Well, there was a couple that came to mind for me, like that guy Mark I was telling earlier that I played TBA with. I showed him Musket and Tomahawks a couple of times years ago.
Yeah.
And to this day, if I mention Musket and Tomahawks, the first thing he thinks of is a random event where a bear attacked his troops out of the woods. And he still to this day, it's the first thing that comes to his mind anytime Musket and Tomahawks is mentioned.
Damn bear.
Yeah. And then the other thing that's happened several times when I played the game is just like when they talk about a farmer in a field takes a pot shot, a sympathetic to the other side.
We've had that one. That one.
Yeah. The sympathetic farmer takes a pot shot at one of your units. Which is great, Yeah, those are good.
And there were tons of them, so it wasn't like after you've done the 10 that they have, there's nothing new. There was lots of them.
The first edition was the first edition was clunkier, than the second for sure. But that's the one I mostly played. I mean, because I never played the second yet. I own it, but I never played it.
Same for me.
And so, but in reading the second, they've polished it quite a bit. But in polishing it and that clunky rule set, they've streamlined it to the point where it has lost some of that. In my opinion, it's not as in all fairness, it's gained some things probably, and there's some mechanics to it that it didn't have in the first one. Because you use cards a little differently now. You have a hand instead of just a deck that you flip over. You have a hand, and your opponent can actually remove cards from your hand. It's like a little bit different. And there may be some opportunities for it being better, but I love that first edition. It was a lot of fun. It was in some ways my entry point for skirmish historical wargaming. Bolt Action was the first, then that one.
So fun gains to the bear attacks.
That's right. It was a good one.
That's when I found your channel, Palmer, when you were doing the Muskets and Tomahawks.
Oh, is that right?
Your jam, yeah.
Yeah, there was a time when I did a lot of bat reps and stuff.
Yeah, and painting and the terrain. I remember when you made the big tree canopies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You would lift off.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Somewhere underneath this big giant cap is the battle.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
We're deep in the forest.
It was kind of neat. I still have those things in the top of the closet.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. During the show, what I did earlier is when I was painting my bases for my guys, I was grabbing paints, and these two were up on the shelf. See these?
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're Kota arms. One of them is Goblin Green, which is one I was supposed to grab. And then the other one is called Bogey Green,
Slightly darker.
It is darker and a little more vibrant, like a little more jade,
Yeah.
maybe a little jade thrown in there.
Yeah.
And it almost looks like some of the ones, some people did paint green bases with more of like this fogey green look back in the day. Like not everybody went for the full, like there was like some variations, but I painted my first base with the wrong one, so it wouldn't match my RV. So I had to abandon ship. I painted the rest and I waited for it to dry, and then I went over it again with the goblin green.
Yeah, fixed it. Nice.
Funny.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's
just
about
like
right.
yesterday, I repainted the 4 old big hat Chaos Dwarves I still had.
Okay.
They had the old green bases,
Oh.
so now they got the
They're
XV88
modern.
brown edging. Now.
Oh, okay. You went
So
to
they
your current
match.
style. Right.
Got to make a match, I guess. It's
Yeah.
just paint at the end of the day. It can be changed.
True. I don't know if I told you guys, but when I actually first put this guy together, I put his armor plates on backwards on the legs, and
Oh, no way.
and I put it up. And you know the great thing is I'm on this hobby group like on Facebook for this game, and I put it up there, and like like most of the people like gave the thumbs up, that looks great, but then like one guy's like, you realize you put those on backwards, right? And I'm glad he said that because it gave me enough time, even with the glue, to actually pull them off,
Yeah.
and I was able to put them on right and actually get it safe.
Jeez.
But like this kit, like that actually is a stupid mistake, but this kit is actually, with the posing and all the joints underneath, it's considered to be one of the harder ones of the various kits they make for this game, because it is actually a little bit of a pain. Like you can only move the poses so much unless you start clipping and doing some stuff, which I did do a couple things like that. But yeah, no, I thought that was a humbling thing.
Yeah.
You put it up, look at this, guys, you realize it's on backwards.
Yeah. Fully intended.
Yeah, I had that happen where my son had assembled a bunch of his mechs, and he put the legs, their clan mechs,
Okay.
and they had the feet backwards on all of them. I never noticed.
Well, one of my friends said,
Marauder once.
Oh, yeah.
When I just started playing, I put the Marauder together. I went over, and the guys were there, and I was like, "Oh, your feet's on backwards, right?" No, I did not know. It's not like I knew where to go, because I did at one time. They had like a website that showed you how to, or you could download a PDF of how to assemble them.
"Oh yeah."
Not anything in the boxes or in the things on how to put them together.
Right.
But I do. Rusty? Wasn't there a place that had that where you could download how to put it together, the actual mech?
Oh, there was. Well, later in life, but when we assembled a lot of that stuff, it was before we had internet.
Yeah.
What?
For
That was
me,
before
it was
dial-up.
internet.
Even before dial-up.
That's before dial.
Still after the internet.
It was like somebody said, "Well, why don't you just use the internet and look at pictures?" Huh? What's the
You had them on
internet?
your cassette tape that hooked up to your Commodore 64.
Cassette tape? You mean 8-track? Yeah, your Commodore. We had a Commodore 64.
And they had, I had a disk drive, a floppy disk drive for that, but they also had cassette tapes or something like that.
Now,
The old PET computers we had in
to
school.
explain what a floppy is.
What's that?
You have to
Five
explain what a floppy
Yeah, yeah.
quarter.
Some of our listeners may not understand what a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk is.
Yeah, because the kind of disk I'm talking about is floppy. You can bend it.
You could hear that whizzing around inside of the drive.
Well, then there's the hard disk, right?
Then they had the smaller hard disk.
hard disk, that came after, I think.
Yeah.
Man, I remember when I got my first computer with a hard drive on it. It had 20 megabytes of hard drive, And I'm like,
Good God, that's mind blowing.
oh my God, what am I going to use with all this space?
Yeah.
Think of all the zeros and ones I can cram in there.
Yeah.
Well,
And now it's like you can put maybe 5 pictures on it. Like,
there was
Yeah.
back in the 80s, there was this computer magazine, what called like Computer Gaming, I think was all it was called. And they had like literally like 3 pages of zeros and ones. I think it was zeros and ones. Maybe there were like some colons and dashes or something. You would type that in, and then if you did it all correctly, it'd be some really basic game you could play. And my brother freaking did that several times. And oh gosh. I mean, he spent hours doing that.
yeah.
Yeah, and the funny thing is like the amount of gratification you get out of it. Like, you know,
Oh, it was cutting edge stuff.
I know,
That was
I know.
like, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Warmut says that the garage door spring snapped when his wife brought the car in, so the door slammed to the ground. You all take it easy. You need to make a service call.
Yeah, that
Happened to me this year. Yeah, it didn't slam to the ground. It just never opened. The spring broke on mine.
That makes a lot of racket.
That makes a lot of racket, and a
Yeah, it
piece
does.
usually flies. Sometimes.
Clark said something funny here. He goes, "Computers used to scream when they connected to the internet."
Yeah.
And he said,
Yeah.
and he goes, "We did not heed their warnings."
Oh, that's funny. He's right.
Yeah.
Man, I remember the days you get my first few, well, up until about 2000, I'd get a computer game and I'd play it and I was like, I'm not really happy with this. And I just reprogram it. Because I used to be
that I did that.
Well,
I'd be lying if I said I did that.
Yeah, me too.
I did. I was like, I remember the Star Wars X-Wing game that came out on computer. It's like I played it, and I got so to the point where, man, this is so easy. So I made it harder for unlimited high levels of TIE fighters to come at me.
Really?
So I would just spend 8 hours of nothing but fighting TIE fighters just to kill them.
Jeez.
You know what's funny is, speaking of those old games, I don't know if you guys ever feel this way, but did you guys all have an Atari, like 2600?
Yeah.
Did you guys?
I still do.
Oh,
yeah, I still have ours.
Tim, did you have an Atari? Did you have an Atari? Are you familiar with that?
Oh, no, I never had an Atari.
Okay.
I had one, but I never.
Yeah. Never were interested. Well, the reason I brought it up is, like, when you look back at the games today, like on some of those, like, to me, like, I'm not that interested like in the games, but when I see the artwork on the boxes, like there's a book that they sell, the artwork of Atari.
Yes.
Like, and it just has like all like the covers and stuff. But like some of the artwork, I think I bought those games for the artwork. Like, or I think that I like those games. Like you look at the covers that they put on some of this stuff, and it was so amazing. And then you play the game, and it was like a block and a block hitting a ball, like, you know what I mean? But like, like, but if you look at the covers, like some of them, like one of them, I forget the name of the game where you would actually have the bar on the bottom, and it hit the ball, and no, the one where it it's super breakout, where it would actually have all these walls you have to break.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. That one has this cover, and it's like an astronaut, and it's like all these like cool graphics, and it's like there's no astronaut in the game, but like it just looks amazing, and it's just funny when I look back at that stuff now, at the emotion that's attached to these things that you would, because like just like with wargaming, like when I was a kid and I would see this stuff, you'd want to imagine yourself doing something like that, or like you were just like looking at that and enamored with it, and then you play the game and it was like, okay, it is whatever. I get bored pretty quick. But I'll tell you that artwork, when I look back at it now, it's sort of looking at the original D&D artwork, and I asked myself how much I liked the visuals of everything I looked at back then. When I look back at it now, and how much was it the game? And I loved the game. That's different than the video game.
Yeah.
D&D, I loved it, but I was enamored with a lot of that artwork, like Larry Elmore and like all of those guys that just had put amazing stuff in there. When you talk to people that play like the old D&D, like the basic sets and all that stuff, and you say, do you remember the guy holding the rope in the tavern or in the weapon store, like holding the rope? Like a lot of us just can't forget those images because for the length of time we stared at them, you know?
Yes. Oh, I stared at it for hours. Like I got that basic book memorized. Like
yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know what you're saying. Oh.
Yeah. And it's to me like seeing the old Atari covers, like from like the game sets and the beautiful artwork they had, is very similar in some ways.
And of course, you got to remember at the time, all that stuff was cutting edge. I mean, it was new stuff. This is the late. I remember they took the 2600 as far as you could take it. We had a game called, was it like Shuttle Launch or something? And that's what you did. You launched the shuttle. And then you went up and you deployed satellites and whatever. I can't remember. But the big thing I remember right now about it was it used all the switches like on your console. Like the one to go from, wasn't there like a basic and expert switch or a black and white or color TV switch? Whatever those toggle switches. You use those to like open your shuttle doors. I mean, like they maxed out like everything on it. You're flipping switches and running the joystick, and it's like it was. I remember thinking, I am flying the shuttle.
The satellite's gonna crash.
Yes, and it was one of the last games that they would have had. So I mean, it was and the graphics were. I mean, I'm sure they had maxed out what it could do.
Okay.
The old Olympics. Oh, that was a fun one too.
Chris has to jump out. He's priming some stuff before dark, he says.
Oh, good call.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Chris.
Yeah, good to see you. As always.
He goes, I know I bought games for the covers. I did too. I absolutely fell for that.
I don't think I did. I think we always knew what we were getting and we were excited about the game, but I don't know.
Oh, really? See, I actually, I mean, I would look at the back where they would show the game screen and I would read it, but I definitely fell for a lot of the
I nostalgically remember the box covers, but I remember a game called Adventure. That was my favorite. That was one of the favorite games I got when we first got the Atari.
Yeah, and that's where you would have the alligator you have to jump across, and like you would have to go under the ground, and the scorpion and all that.
Oh, you're thinking of Pitfall.
I'm thinking of Pitfall. Yeah, Pitfall with Adventure. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, Adventure. It had the castle. And there was a sword. There was a goblet. You had to get the goblet, and the bats would fly by and grab it, and they'd go off on another screen. You'd have to go find it, and they'd slay the dragons with the sword. And there was a magnet because sometimes the sword would be stuck in the wall, so you had to go find the magnet to suck the. And then you took the goblet to one of the castles, or after you'd slaved all the, I forget something, and then it would give you this big celebration. The screen would flash. That was. I
think I vaguely remember that.
It was like a Dungeons and Dragons type of a first-person game.
Missile
Command was cool.
That was Missile Command.
Oh man, I remember at the end you're just like launching, like the whole sky is.
And pretty soon you're just on your last base, and you never move. He's like.
Asteroids was fun too, as basic as that was. That was so fun.
Millipede and Centipede.
Oh, I loved that. Yeah,
I didn't remember playing those much.
The only thing about that, Rusty, is Centipede was, in my mind, the only limiting factor is whether or not you had the trackball. To me, like, I don't know that they made a trackball. Well, so like if you played it in an arcade, you had with Centipede, you used a ball on your hand that you would actually move around and move the actual, rather than a joystick, it had like an actual ball that you actually moved.
I remember on playing Defender and Missile Command.
Defender, yep.
In the arcade with the trackball.
Yeah, and that to me added to the experience much better for that particular game, even though I played that on so many consoles too. But I loved that one difference made it.
Did you guys ever play the one that was called like it was the Summer Olympics?
Yeah.
And you could pick your country and it would play the anthem.
Now, was that on Commodore? I had that on Commodore, but maybe that was on Atari too? Maybe it was on first on Atari.
I think it was on Atari. And I remember it had the old Atari joysticks.
Okay.
And to make the guys run, it was the fastest you could move the joystick. Man, I bet we powdered those joysticks. We'd have them wedged between your knees, and you just.
Well, there wasn't a household in the world that didn't have the top pulled off with the white stick underneath. You know what I mean? Because people have ripped the thing off. Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
my
you-
god.
Funny.
Another one is like there used to be major fights in my house. My brothers would get into punching fights playing the football game.
Oh,
And you'd get there and you're doing the play, and it's like, hey, play touchdown, and they're like, you. Ah!
I don't
And
remember
they'd beat
playing
them.
that one.
Oh man, they'd get fights, and my dad would come in and start knocking heads, and I'd come home from work, and I was like, where the hell's my Atari at?
Hey,
And it's like, I'm taking it away from them because they're fighting over it. And I was like,
I know. Oh, Clyde mentions that tank biplane combat game. It was called Combat, wasn't it, Clyde?
yes.
oh
And
yeah, that came with it when I bought it.
That was such a good game. I
Yeah.
loved that game.
Didn't that come with it, Combat, or am I thinking of a different
Probably
one?
one of the
where you move the tank around and yeah.
No, you went against each other and you were in an arena,
Yeah.
but there were different, like you
Yeah.
could have different obstacles, and you'd be trying to sneak around and shoot them from the side and back, and then you could come in from the side and wrap around the screen, and
Yeah.
oh my god, that
Rob
was
mentioned
fun.
Marble Madness was a cool trackball arcade game. I remember that one.
I don't
You
remember
were
that
basically
one.
a marble needing to go through a whole maze.
Oh, cool.
It's so like you'd roll off things and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Gosh,
You know,
Yes, I haven't thought about
one of my
that.
favorite arcade games when I was a kid was the first Punch Out game. I thought that was so much fun. Like, cause where you had like it was before Mike Tyson's Punch Out, like later on Nintendo, but like the original Punch Out, where like your guy would be see through, like you could see your opponent, but you just had the shell around him. Yeah,
just had the shell so you could see what you were doing.
but you
It's
had
like
two
first
screens.
person.
Yeah, there were
Yes.
2 screens on it. It was really cool. It was a nice game.
Boy, the smell in the arcades I mean, you just smell, I don't know what that was, electronics or warm electronics or what it was.
Yeah.
I think it was like half
Ozone.
dissolved candy and carpet.
It was Old Spice.
I guess the only time we didn't have an arcade, but when we went to the state fair as kids, they'd have an arcade tent. Do you remember that, Rusty?
Yeah.
That's where we would see the arcade games because there was no arcades around us. So
Okay. We had
maybe
them in
it's
the
because they
mall.
were outside in the heat. But it had
Sure.
a smell of like warm electronics.
Okay.
I'll never forget that.
See, if you watch the movie Tron, when he walks into the arcade, that's the kind of arcade that I would have experienced. Like you go into a mall and the whole place is just a glow of machines, but it would be carpeted everywhere. But there'd be crap all over the floor because it's all kids.
Aladdin's
right?
Castle.
So it's like
is the-
popcorn and candy.
Oh yeah, Aladdin's Castle. Yeah, just be a
Stuff
kid's
scattered everywhere.
playroom. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we never went to those.
Yeah, across up there when I went to Black Duck in Minnesota, they the one bar had an arcade section in it. They had all that stuff in it.
Oh, cool.
And then if we went into Bemidji, then they had Aladdin's Castle in there.
I grew up in a time when I don't even know if it's still then today, but as much it's probably not as correct. But I grew up in a time when my dad would take me to the bar, and so like his friends would be there, and like they'd have the Pac-Man game that was on a table. So like it was a table. It wasn't actually a stand-up game. It was like you'd sit down and you could put your drink on it, and it was like literally a table, and they'd have Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Man, and like get like a handful of quarters. Here over there.
Yeah. Dad would take my brother and I to the little bar in the small town, and he'd talk to his buddies, and he'd give us quarters to play pool. That's
exactly.
That's not really what would happen now, I suppose. Maybe.
I don't think as much. I don't think so. Not unless they serve food and have a restaurant. Like it's not like
this was just a bar. I mean, you could get a burger, I suppose, but
right.
Yeah, they
always a whole other level of musty we're talking about here.
and then we drive home with no seatbelts, because that's
or in the back of the pickup,
in the back of the truck,
or in the back of the pickup on the wheel wells.
Yeah,
that's right. Hanging off with the skateboard.
You'd hang off the
Well, we always had like 2 hay bales back there that you could sit on.
Yeah,
that was your safety net.
We just sat on the wheel wells, and oh my god.
Yeah, no, it's
different time.
Well, to see tonight, I was worked on another magma cannon
Nice.
and another magma cannon.
Cool.
Wow, that's well done. That's a lot of magma.
So that would give me 3 of them. So
How many would you actually field?
One.
Depends on the game.
Technically.
A
almost never
2,500
go-
point game.
Yeah.
There you go. You got to think big. That's right.
It's
None of this piddly.
375 points in a 300 or in a 2,500 point game. That ain't too bad.
Rob says,
Are they look nasty?
Yeah.
Rob says Tron was almost a callback to combat. I know they had like different screens in Tron that you could play, and one of them was like a tank one.
Yeah.
Clyde says Pizza Hut later at Pac-Man
I
when we were doing a pickup.
Pizza Hut.
What's that?
What Clyde's Pizza Hut?
You remember that?
Yep. Yep.
So when you were doing a pickup, you could play the game. Is that what you're saying?
No, we go in to eat at Pizza Hut and the game
Just play.
Just play
Yeah,
when you. Yeah, because you'd eat there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
they
the
had
Pizza Hut had a small arcade section.
right. See, like
Dang it.
there wasn't a lot of Pizza Hut in Long Island, New York, just because there were so many pizza places everywhere.
Oh,
there wasn't
sure.
really a market
New
that they
York.
kept in.
Yeah, why would they even open up one?
Yeah,
Like,
we had.
later on, I think they might have, like, because eventually Domino's did break in there, like with delivery and stuff. But I don't think like there were a lot of other options. But
Yeah, we had
I hear
Pizza Hut in
people
our
tell
town.
stories about the Pizza Huts where you would go in and you'd have like the buffet, and then they would talk like they would show what it looked like at all of them and stuff,
Oh,
and I could
yeah.
see a lot of the retro photos of them.
Yeah, we had a Pizza Hut in our small town, and it had the buffet was a big thing.
They had like the red cups, isn't that right? Like red
Yep.
plastic cups.
You
Yep.
betcha.
Yeah, because I saw photos of them. Yeah.
Red plastic.
It was either Friday or Saturday night, and that's where you go out and go on your date. And
Friday night was the hopping place to be at Pizza Hut. We had little duffers too. Little duffer.
for me, it was Friday night was either football night or I was either at track meet, or wrestling. So Saturday night usually was the time to go to the Pizza Hut.
One time I went to Pizza Hut with my wife when we lived in North Carolina. And the funny story we had was we went in the middle of the day and they had the pizza buffet. We're like, sure, we'll get the buffet. So we walk up there, we each grab our pizzas, we sit down, and then somebody walks up and takes the whole pizza and throws it in the garbage. Because they rotate them every so often to keep them fresh, right? Like, you know how like they'll like go through and rotate them?
Oh yeah,
It was really funny because the way it worked out was we were the only, like one of the only people there. It was the middle of the day. We walked in and we grabbed our pizza, we sit down, and they take everything that we didn't grab and just throw in the garbage right in front of us. So it kind of gives you the impression like we're eating crap, you know?
Yeah, that should be in the trash. What you're eating.
Yeah, like really, the reality is they do it to keep it fresh, right? There's nothing wrong with it, right? But it was just really funny. We laughed.
Yeah,
about it
it's kind of awkward. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, the buffet's over. What's not eaten now gets trashed.
yeah. So Josh says, did you guys have arcade lock-ins? We used to love those as teenagers. I don't know what that is. I actually never experienced that. I doesn't know where you
Was
go
that
in.
an activity for you get the teens to go in there and they stay there like all night and play
Yeah.
it, so it keeps
That
them out of
sounds
trouble?
fun.
We
Yeah,
used to do lock.
Be like a church lock-in.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I prefer the arcade lock-in. That's just me, though.
I'm with Palmer.
No offense, Rusty. I'm just kidding.
I think they both serve the same purpose,
Yeah.
keeping the kids out of trouble.
Yeah, right.
But little did they know it did stop.
That's right.
Wow.
Clyde says only had a Pizza Hut and a KFC in our small town. Okay.
What more could you want?
Yeah. Well,
We didn't
KFC
have
is not
a
the
KFC.
same
Fine,
anymore.
damn, unless you had an A&W.
We
I don't know
used
what it's
to.
like.
It was a drive-in A&W, but it's long gone.
I don't know what it's like in the U.S., but I don't think KFC tastes the same anymore from like years ago. It seems a lot different now.
Well, they changed what they fry. The grease has been changed from animal based to plant based oils.
Okay. I just found it also, maybe it's just up in Canada, but I found it a lot greasier, than not in a good way. Like I found just in a bad way. I didn't find it as greasy, like in some ways, like maybe it's just the way they're cooking it up here. So I don't really go there anymore up here. But I used to occasionally like to get a bucket of chicken, with all the trimmings and stuff.
Yeah, just like McDonald's used to fry it in tallow based fries. Now it's like I was stopped in at the Iowa City one, and I was like eating the fries, and I was like, what the heck is wrong with these? And I go, these fries taste terrible. It's like, what do you fry them as? Canola oil. Like,
oh God, that's
I'm like, oh my God. And I said, this is disgusting. They go,
see, I find with McDonald's, it's one of those foods that, I worked it for a little while in high school at a McDonald's. And so I remember that I used to eat it a lot, and there's a flavor that's very nostalgic for me. But I find that McDonald's is one of those things that there's a certain taste that permeates through whatever you buy there. Yeah. Like whatever I buy, there's this hint of a flavor that's basically says McDonald's. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you go somewhere else, usually this tastes like this tastes like this. It's you get each of whatever. But there, I find everything has this common taste.
Yeah, it's the same taste. It just looks different.
I don't know if it's the oil they fry it in, the commonality, but I don't know. But then the burger does too, though, on the stove or the grill.
Well, it's even if it's beef anymore, I don't know.
Rob says there was an arcade in Wildwood, New Jersey called Duffer's Challenge. So did they do the shut-in that Josh was talking about? Was it something where they did that kind of teenager shut-in? Or was that just a nostalgic place you remember, Rob? A&W was late 80s, is what Clyde says. A&W is quite big in Canada. I really, actually, for a fast food burger, they in Calgary here, I really quite like their burger. It actually has a really nice
the beef.
I
haven't eaten at A&W in a month, so.
Oh, so are they big in the U.S., A&W?
Yeah, they're still here.
I didn't know that.
Just around the corner.
Okay. When I lived in North Carolina, I didn't see many there, if any at all. The only thing I can vaguely remember is sometimes gas stations would have a fast food place attached to it. Now, and this was even 20 years ago, actually. And I remember, I think maybe there was an A&W there then, but I know a lot of places, because the U.S. is so big with such a big population that there are some places that are regional, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'd never been to a Jack in the Box. I never set foot in one. I never seen one.
I don't think I've ever seen a Jack in the Box either.
But I know they exist.
The A&W it's an A&W and Long John Slivers are together.
Oh, okay.
It's a joint restaurant.
Okay, not here. Here, it would be A&W would be alone. And it's the South Side. They have Long John Slivers on the South Side just by itself. The A&W over here is a joint one. Okay.
And I think the one across the town is a joint one too. Just depending who owns them for franchise.
Rob says you probably missed the fried chicken and sea. Yeah, I suppose. Actually, I missed the seafood there. To be weirdly enough, we were not that far from the coast, and being towards the mountains here and landlocked in Alberta, there's plenty of beef here, great steak and stuff. But the seafood in North Carolina was quite amazing, and I like seafood. So yeah,
I'd say if I was closer, I'd love to eat more on the seafood.
Mm-hmm. Clyde says when McDonald's switched to Environ boxes, we had dare that the boxes tasted like the fries. They did, more chewy though.
That's great.
Josh says I had A&W here in Okinawa and loved it. Way better than Macca's. Yeah, I like A&W.
I like the root beer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can still get the root beer float.
Actually, I
That's
just
awesome.
find like there's still a fast food burger. Like, you know, you could still get like a really good burger at other places that's more expensive. But I find like if you want a quick burger, it's a different category, right? Like I think in its category, it's a good one. Rob says
say,
not.
usually it's like the Papa Burger, the biggest one they got.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Pop.
Not that I know of. Just wondering if someone is connected to Dan Stuffers. Connected to Dan Stuffers. I don't think he's talking about you, Dan. I think he's talking about the arcade, but maybe he's playing on the word. I'm not sure. You never know with that Jank Master.
Yeah, in our town we had a Lil Duffer. Lil.
Oh, okay.
That was a chain one time.
Oh, they don't have Domino's now?
So, do you mean in the state of Japan? Or do you mean like, what did you mean by this? What do you refer to as the state, Josh? Because I know you're in Japan.
There's states in Japan, right? Is that what they call them?
Is that what they call them? See, I'm just showing my ignorance here.
I'm ignorant too on that.
Yeah. Lock-ins were exactly that. Pay $20 and play everything in the arcade for 2 hours straight. Oh, that sounds fun.
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh yeah, we're going to that.
Yeah. Rob says in the 70s, Jack in the Box had great onion rings. Yeah. You know, and it's funny because I grew up thinking that Burger King's onion rings were onion rings. Like I actually had those things that are flavored like onion. You know, and as a kid, I loved them. Like I just loved the flavor. But like I liked onion chips too. Like, you know, whatever. But A&W make, and I'm not getting paid for this, but like they actually have pretty good onion rings. I'm more of a fry guy, but other people in my house like them.
Yeah, onion ring is supposed to have onions in it.
Exactly.
What?
It's not the flavored doughy stuff. I like, even to this day, I still like those Burger King ones. But let's see. Prefecture of Ibaraki, they have closed me. So okay, so that's
I
what
used
they
to
call
work
it.
for Domino's. I was a driver,
Oh, okay.
which was really good money, especially when I had a pickup. So whenever there was a blizzard and everything was closed, and I'll be the only one that could deliver. I'd make $300 to $500 in one night, just in tips.
Nice. Good pizza, bad Andy. Isn't that what it used to be? Their old slogan. Do you remember that?
For who?
For Domino's. I'm pretty sure it was them.
What was the slogan?
They had like this little guy, red guy, he looked like a devil, and he would be causing trouble like on the commercials. And their slogan on the thing would be "Good pizza, bad Andy." And
I never saw
it was
that.
like 20 to 30 years ago. I'm pretty sure it's Domino's. I'm pulling it up. Yeah, bad Andy Domino's pizza copy machine commercial. I've just put that up on YouTube. This was put up on YouTube 17 years ago, but the adverts were in the 2000. So, anyways, I thought maybe that might have been close to when you were delivering there or not. I don't know.
I don't remember when I worked there. That was a thing. It was always nice. Is that I worked the late shift and I just make my own pizzas and everything.
That was another one, right?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, the Noid.
Noid.
There's Good Pizza, Bad Andy, and then there's Avoid the Noid. They had some funny ones over the years. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking of the Noid when I was thinking of Andy, but in my mind I said the Red Devil, and that was the Noid. But really, Andy was like a puppet. He was like a puppet that looked like a monkey or something. They both were Domino's marketing campaigns. It's funny going back.
Funny how it sticks in your head, though, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like Geico with like the cavemen, like those were hilarious.
So easy, even a caveman can do it.
Yeah, that's right. I love those. Damn it! What?
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we've stretched our topic into many different categories.
Yeah.
Retro gaming.
That's right. Oh, we landed on.
Well, eventually, we always touch on nostalgia of some sort.
That's true. That's true. anyways, we will likely, I guess, we will likely converge again in a month over on Rusty's channel, most likely.
Yeah.
And
Somewhere there.
then we'll be heading pretty close to heading towards season 9.
Yeah, we'll have
Yeah.
another one in after the fair in August.
Mhm.
Whenever that
Yep.
ends.
Yeah,
Yep.
that sounds
Yep.
good. Yeah, no, that sounds good. We'll chat. We'll organize. Ross says, "Where's the beef?" While we're on.
Oh
this
God,
episode.
remember then the
Where's
old
the
lady?
beef?
Oh no!
Throw Mama from the train. That was the with Billy Crystal and
Oh
Danny
yeah.
DeVito. That was the same lady. Yeah, and she
Yeah.
was in Goonies too, right? Yeah, the
That
same
could
lady.
be.
The Where
Could
the
be.
Beef Woman was in those. Yeah, it's the same actress. But that's funny.
I think I got these knocked out. I think I got all the highlights done and on the horses and the 2 holders, and I think I can get them based up. That's exciting.
Yeah,
Another
It's always good to get something done, even if
Yeah.
it's not a lot. It's always good to get
It's
that.
just progress. Progress. Yeah.
I just got my bases done that I set out to do, and I've been doing so much Adeptus Titanicus that and after having my game last night, I thought I really got to get some progress on my black works and get them done. And so
Yeah. Quit jacking around up there.
I know they need to get on the field ready.
Absolutely. You got to start getting some W's.
That's right. I got to do. Otherwise, I may not be in it for much longer.
You'll just take your toys and go home.
I'm actually looking forward to the new rules, like the changes they've done. So
Is there a lot of stuff? I just saw that on my Bretonian groups. That's how I knew it dropped, because they're bitching about the change of price.
And also the loss of the Falcon Horn.
Yeah, and then the price of the Pegasus Knights, and they can't use the Lance anymore or something.
That's right. Well, the Lance has just changed.
The Lance and I thought they said Pegasus Knights couldn't use the
Maybe
Lance.
they can't. Maybe they can't. Yeah, but also using a Lance has changed too. I think.
Oh, has it? Like substantially?
Yeah. Well, there are some
I'll
changes. I don't know them. I don't know them exactly because
it
I kind of glossed
apply.
over it a bit. Yeah, but in some ways it does, because one of the guys I play uses them, so I should probably pay attention. But at the same time, one of the big things is dragons have really been, along with infantry going up, monsters and in particular dragons have been brought down a notch, and they're making infantry much more resilient, and then we're going to see bigger armies on the table with like infantry again. People.
So and again, I'm not trying to bash or anything, but my first thought is like, did they not know this? Like, do you play test or are they responding to what the community wants?
Well, they're definitely responding what their community wants, because definitely there were a lot of people talking about it. The only thing in their defense I would say is, in my opinion, even though the concept of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, like Old World is the next edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, because of the gap in time and the changes in the way they made the game and how different they made it, in a lot of ways, it's like an old concept but a new game. Like it's its own edition. Like it is sort of like a new game. Yep. And I think because of that,
you got to let it develop.
Any new game that has a fair bit of complexity, sometimes just needs to be
just beat around by millions of people and then see what is because even if you've got 30 people playtesting, you aren't going to see they're still going to attack it kind of their same way. It's just hard to get all the scenarios and all the different.
I think a lot of people like the game, even now before these changes, but I think everybody just is I just wish I could take big blocks of infantry and they could be useful.
I've heard that was a big gripe. The infantry they kept saying to the Bretonians, it's useless. And I don't know if that's quite true, but but this will obviously help that, right?
Yeah, absolutely will. There's no doubt.
How's this going to hurt the legacy armies? Did they get any?
I don't think they got any.
So are they going to eventually feel like they get left in the dust? Do you think, or
I
what do
hope
you
not.
think?
I hope not, because so many people play them.
They may add them on though.
Army. Yeah, I got beat by a legacy army yesterday. Vampire counts as a legacy.
Okay,
army.
and maybe they'll eventually they'll start working through some of those potentially
so.
if it makes sense, obviously.
Yeah.
So is this just a FAQ stuff or?
Yeah.
Well, it is, but it's also an errata, and it's actually significant enough. It's like there's an FAQ section, but it's an errata. Like they're literally changing the rules on many things.
It's just a free download though, right, Palmer?
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah.
And so you could download it, but like some things are just like absolutely changed from the rule book. Like in the way, like let's say, what is it? Vortex spells work, or like a rule like frenzy. Like just certain things are just changing. Like so you have to go in and learn how it does it. But then also for combat, they've introduced 3 significant rules for infantry and heavy infantry that are several paragraphs long. Like they're not insignificant, and they really buff them quite a bit. And then there's enough in there that like you it's not like
I'll have to look at it, but
it is significant, and it's meant to just reduce magic. It's like the swinginess of like how powerful like the most powerful characters were. They're sort of marginalizing the whole group, so it's like kind of reducing the differences in half between them, and making magic. Yeah, they're just not quite as game deciding. I think.
Oh, so it dropped yesterday.
Yeah. Looks like Josh is taking off, so I just want to say goodbye. Thanks for joining us, Josh. It's always great to have you on. And Rob does say we have some fantasy talk here, just from what we were talking about. But Rob says I don't think the commercial woman was that actress, but Cooney's actress was in Throw Mama. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've got those 2 women they're 2 different separate people altogether.
Yeah,
I always associate them as being the same. And then let's see. Rob says he says I think they almost considered it a flash drop, but the game caught on and proved worth investing.
I think that's true to some extent, for sure.
Yeah, the fact that those legacy armies will get more love. The fact that those legacy.
I think he means that because it's it's caught on that the legacy armies will.
I hope
there's
so.
a chance, especially like he says in his next statement. Yeah, I mean those are pretty. Those are pretty core armies, really, to leave out.
Yeah, Blizzard, Skaven, Vampire Counts.
Match
play guide is available for purchase, but not download. That's right. So the match play guide isn't necessary to play the game, but it is.
I did see that was available to buy.
They do that with a lot of games, though. GW, like they're even like Adeptus Titanicus and AOS, and like a number of games have match play guides, like from GW, and you just buy them, and there's just like more ways.
It sounded like there were more scenario. I read about it on Saturday. That was when they were showing you could pre-order it, and it was interesting, and it's probably worth if you wanted to buy it, but it's not at all necessary. So I mean, if they want to charge for it, sure. Yeah.
Anyways, it is going to be. I'm actually happy with it. I actually like the idea of seeing lots of troops on the table. But anyways, getting back to what we were saying, we're looking in a month to probably meeting again, I guess. And so, thanks for everybody for coming out. It was a good time as usual. And see you guys later. See everybody later.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for everybody. Everybody's good time.
Night, everyone. All right.
Cheerio.
See you, Clyde.